Well, good evening there, pipe pals and gals. Holy smoking pipe Andre here. How you doing? Okay, well, I'm smoking my beloved pirate cake. This is what it looks like in the tin there. Okay. And so, Mark, make a change. Old Pipe Pops Jr., I'll be sending you some of that pirate cake coming your way. As a little thank you for sending me that nice gift that you sent to me earlier this week. Okay, folks, this is kind of going to be like a two-part video. I have two more videos that I'd like to do this week. One of them is about my new MacBook Pro. I want to talk a little bit about that. Give kind of a review. I've been using it now for the last 5 days. Want to talk about that. I've made this video now 3 times, and the one I made last night was almost 50 minutes long. I know, some of you probably went, 50 minutes long! And I realize that's just too long. And I'm trying to cram a lot of stuff in there, whether, it's a lot of it sometimes pipe related and, commenting on other people's videos. And, I get some personal messages from a few folks saying, hey, can you talk about this? Can you be nice to hear you talk about that? So I thought what I'd do. It's been a busy week in the old parish. And to be honest with you, one of the favorite things that I like to do in the summertime, it's a beautiful summer evening. And if you remember last year, pulled out the old calabash, put in some pirate cake, and just let it go. So tonight, what I want to do is I want to talk about 2 things, and I'm probably going to put them in 2 different uploads. So those of you who are interested in one and maybe not the other will watch one, and then people that are interested in the other subject, maybe they'll watch that one. Maybe you'll watch both. You're welcome to do that. You don't even have to watch any of them. But, so the topics for this evening. Again, I'm going to give you a little review, an honest review of the new MacBook Pro with Retina display. Because a lot of times people, when they encounter people like me, they go, oh, you're a Mac fanboy. And I have to be honest with you. I used to work on computers. I was a PC guy for, a long time. And when I started my video editing and making videos, one thing about this pipe, it belches. I started my sojourn into PCs, built my own PCs, built PCs for friends, and to be honest with you, I really loved it. And therein lies, let me just say this real quick, I think the difference between a PC person and a Mac person, because I've been both. A PC person is somebody who loves to just get into that machine and tweak it, put in new graphics cards, put in new audio cards, put in the fastest processors, the fastest motherboards, and configure your own system the way you like it. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's great. Like I said, I've did that for a long time. But for me, later on, it just became too much. What I really wanted, and my friend Katie said, I was watching a Mac commercial and they said they just work. And that's true, because there were a lot of frustration being a PC guy. I tried to do video editing and I couldn't do it to save my life. The technology just wasn't working. You get the wrong video card. Trust me, for me, it just didn't work. And I knew a guy back in 2001 who had a Mac, and he was producing his own DVD documentaries. He was he was a music teacher. No, I take that back. Yeah, he was a music teacher. But he had a school music program that he would go around talking about that helped kids learn music, play music, and appreciate music. It was a well-rounded program. And I went to his house one night for dinner. He took me out into his garage / barn / workshop studio, and he showed me DVDs that he created on his Mac, and I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't do that. I get this choppy, ugly stuff, and it's just pulling out my hair. That's why I don't have much anymore, because I was a PC guy. Now, don't get me wrong. One of the best programs, and I actually found it for Mac, and I downloaded it. In fact, I'm trying to work on it right now for the first time, was Adobe Premiere Elements. Those of you who just saw my last video on green screening, let me just say, if you're interested in getting I think it's like $100, maybe on a download now, it might be like $79, you can't go wrong with Adobe Premiere Elements. Those Adobe programs are awesome. How many Photoshop people out there do we have? Eds, ADZ pipes. Big, I'm sure he's a big Photoshop guy, as well as Corel Paint. I think you also do Corel Paint. But anyway, I digress. So I want to just give you a little talk about the MacBook Pro with Retina display. And I'm going to be honest with you. First of all, let me just give you a quick look of the machine. Those of you who might be curious. Now, you can always see better quality pictures. Now, real quick, if you were to put this along my MacBook Pro from 2009, which is an awesome machine, physically, they almost are identical. There's a few things that are different, but they're not as noticeable, and that's okay. So let me show you the profile. See if I can do this without it slipping. There's the little beauty pass there. There's the profile. As you can see, it's pretty thin. And that's really awesome. Let me get this cable out of the way. That's a pretty thin machine there. It's almost as light as a MacBook Air. It's still got a little bit of heft to it, but still it's a very nice. And the Retina display, I got to tell you, I'm really getting spoiled when I go back to my MacBook or my Mac Pro, and I look at the wording or the pictures. It's kind of like looking at something, somebody put a little bit of Vaseline on it. And so I'm having a little bit of a hard time. I'm going to have to get some glasses, I realized. I haven't had my eyes checked in probably 20 years. And I probably need to have my eyes checked. And I probably need to get some bifocals or trifocals. Holy smoking pie Padre is getting old. Okay. So this first video, we're going to talk a little bit about my experience with this MacBook Pro Retina display. And I'm going to try to pare it down because I got too long-winded, and this is already getting long-winded. I know some of you are already saying you're already getting long-winded. I used it, I got it Thursday, and I started, working on my project for my homily, 14 Sunday homily on Stevenson RF. That's my religious channel. And one of the things that I wanted to do a new intro for the newer videos that I started 3-4 weeks ago. I think a nice little intro showing the actual parish is going to help people to recognize that this is more about the parish and not that much about me. I'm just the guy that's giving the homily, but we're going to try to expand that to the deacons and Father Leon, because this is not about me promoting myself. I was asked to start my homilies again, and I think that as long as it's more identified clearly with the parish, then it doesn't look like I'm trying to do something on my own as I was before as a prison chaplain, because I wasn't affiliated with a parish at the time. I helped out at different Catholic parishes, but I was a prison chaplain, so I was not assigned to a parish as I am now. I've been assigned to several parishes, many parishes, but as a prison chaplain, that's your primary ministry, is being a prison chaplain. So, pirate cake is wonderful, folks. It smells like dried old leaves, and some people think it's pretty pungent stuff, but it is a smooth, sweet smoke, and it's got a bit of a kick to it. So in the evenings, I love smoking pirate cake, and it's delicious. Wow. So I started working on my projects, and I want to say in the beginning, the workflow in Final Cut Pro 10 was phenomenal. I mean, before it was a mouse. Now it's just, this is my mouse on the little glass trackpad. Just slides, woo, woo, woo. Perfect. I was doing things that would take me, hours before. And don't get me wrong, I'm a big Final Cut Pro 7 guy. I cut my teeth on that. Awesome program. Awesome suite of programs. However, favorite coordinating conjunction, it was limited. But when Final Cut Pro 10 came out last year, I downloaded it, played with it for a little bit, seemed to be okay, but then I got to the point where I said, I don't have time to learn this new interface. And I said it was easier for me just to go back to Final Cut Pro 7 and just do what little projects I was doing in that, because I knew the interface. Since then, I've started working with Final Cut Pro 10. There's some wonderful, wonderful tutorials out there, and it's a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be. It's actually, once you kind of know non-linear editing software, it's kind of like, oh, this is where that button is. That's all it is. The concepts haven't changed. It's just where the buttons are. That's all it is. So, everything was fine there until I found out that I couldn't export what I created. Big showstopper. So Thursday night, I started to export, and at first it looked like, man, this is going to be great. And this is not the top of the line, but this is the brand new premier MacBook Pro, I expected it to have some really great processing power, and it does. Let me just say that. But at first, when I first started exporting the project, 10-minute video, it started off like it was going to do it in about 17 minutes. Then I came back to the queue and I looked at it and said, an hour. I went, an hour? What? And then I came back a little bit later, it said 2 hours. 2 hours? And I go, what the heck's going on? This is a brand new computer. My old MacBook, my old Mac Pro on my desk, it'll do that, 2 hours. 2 hours. Well, I was a little bit upset about that, and I thought, well, okay, let's be careful. Let's don't rush to judgment here. Maybe there's a setting that I haven't checked, or I didn't get the right settings. So let's be patient. Well, the first time I tried to export something after almost 2 hours, it finally crashed, and I'm going, oh. So don't lose heart. Try it again. Just try it again. Maybe So I did. And again, it went into that same mode. 17 minutes, 23 minutes, half an hour, 45 minutes, an hour, 90 minutes, 2 hours. I'm going, what? And 1 o'clock in the morning when I got up to see if it finally, maybe went all the way through again, it crashed again. So I got up Friday, a lot of stuff to do in the parish Friday. Had a lot of appointments and running back and forth from here to the church and back to the rectory. trying to figure out what's wrong with me and my machine. Is it me or is it the machine? Well, did a lot of research. Started really kind of hitting the panic button saying, hey, I just bought this new machine. I'm not going to tell you, it's not cheap. And it should be running a 10-minute video. It should be processing within a matter of minutes. Seriously, folks. Not hours. Well, I started doing a little bit of research and I found some disquieting things about this beautiful machine. And it is a beautiful machine, don't get me wrong. But sad to say, God bless and rest Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs has that philosophy of he didn't want you messing with his stuff. Even from beyond the grave, this isn't my Mac Pro. It's his. And he doesn't want me going inside this machine. Period. Pretty nervy, huh? That's something he just didn't like. He didn't like people tearing his stuff apart. And again, a PC person is constantly, pulling things out and putting things back in and, just changing everything whenever they want to. Well, I want a faster processor. I wonder if I can stick this new, Intel on this motherboard. Can I get a new RAID driver card, and stick it in there, Steve Jobs didn't want you doing that. It's like, hey, we designed the software, we designed the hardware, and it works. So don't mess with it. Don't tamper with it. You don't need to. Well, when I found out that it wasn't exporting a 10-minute video, let me just be honest and tell you that the old holy smoke and pie padre was a little bit PO'd. And I was really having serious doubts and ruining the fact that I just spent all this money on this machine. So, but I did some more research. And some of the things that I read were very disquieting. One of the reasons why this machine is really thin, or thinner, I should say, than the previous MacBook Pros is there's no optical drive, no DVD, CD-ROM. That's gone. And the traditional laptop hard drive has now been replaced with a SSD drive, solid state drive, which is smaller and thinner. So that's why you get a lower profile now on the body unit. It is a little bit lighter. I can actually pick it up with one hand. I could probably pick the other one up with the other hand, but it would, but this still has a little bit of heft to it. Also, another sad thing is that two things. The batteries are, I don't know if they're soldered on or glued on. They say glue in many of the reports that I got. In other words, you can't turn a little latch, drop the old battery out, and buy a new one and put it back in. Those days are gone. And sad to say, if you order, if you buy the MacBook Pro that you buy, the Retina display one, like I did, if you didn't do your homework, and I don't always go top of the line because I don't think I need it. But if you're really seriously professional and you're going to use this in the field, you're going to want to get the 16 gigabytes of RAM, because here's why. You can't upgrade the RAM. Now, I don't know if you can take it to a Apple service place and maybe they can do it, but it's not like the old ones where you take the little chips and slide them in and pull them out and that kind of thing. Those days are gone too, at least for now. So this is pretty much what you get. It's not really upgradable. Okay. Now, that being said, I finally found a workaround. Well, actually not a workaround. I found a guy who really knew what he was talking about. Sometimes on these forums, you'll ask the question, and I love it when it says question answered or not answered. Boy, let me tell you, that's a big time saver. And there was a guy who was having the same issue that I was, slow render speeds and all that. And this guy, he figured it out. And God bless him, because he put a step-by-step litany instructions on what you needed to do to fix the problem. And within 5 minutes, I followed his steps to the letter. And believe it or not, instead of taking hours to render a 10-minute video, it took a few minutes. So it wasn't the machine, it was the operator. So let me just say that. So Holy Smoking Pipe Padre is happy. Now you may ask, well, would you recommend buying a MacBook Pro with Retina display? Well, that becomes more of a philosophical question at this point. And all I can say is, if you are somebody who desires to always be, at the technological cutting edge, and you feel that you're being able to have access to the internal gizzards of your particular beloved machine will give you that edge, then you probably wouldn't want a machine like this, because there's no way you can upgrade this on your own, unless you were a true professional person who knew what they were doing, Apple trained and all that. But like the old days where you could drop out the battery and do the RAM installation yourself, you can't do that. You just can't do that, because there's no, it's not sitting in a little, it's not like a little clip that you can unclip and pull out and put in another one. It's not like that. It's all soldered on to the board. Now, maybe some people out there know how to solder, and they're not afraid of that. I would not attempt to do that unless somebody showed me exactly how to do it, because you screw up this motherboard, this logic board, you're out $2,000 plus. And I'm not going to do that. I don't mind opening up a hatch and pulling out a little chip and putting another one in. That I'm comfortable with. But this is not configured that way at all. So if you're a person that likes to have that kind of technological edge and be able to do it yourself, kind of like working on your own car, the way, when I grew up, a lot of guys knew how to work on their own car, saved themselves a lot of money. And they learned a lot of cool things about combustion engines and all sorts of cool stuff. But those days are pretty much gone too. And the computers, I think, are going the same way. Steve Jobs, God bless him, just didn't want people messing with his stuff. And even though I bought it and paid for it, it's still his. Thank you, Steve. Okay, so that's my little take on the MacBook Pro with Retina display. Again, maybe I didn't answer the question. So if you're, again, a person on that technological edge and you want to do it yourself, this machine is not for you. However, if you are a person like me who is satisfied as long as it does what it says it's going to do, and it does, it's like, buying a Maserati today. It's not going to be cutting edge 20 years from now. It's going to be a classic if it lasts. So you might say, well, I got the machine that I want. It does what it's designed to do. For me, that's process video, and it does a pretty doggone good job doing that. Once I've got the right specs and the right settings, it did it flawlessly. So I would go ahead and buy this machine again, even though it does have some discrepancies, but that's, it's not perfect. And until they make a laptop that can, brew a cup of coffee and light my pipe, chances are I'm not going to be totally satisfied. But maybe someday that will be a reality. Until then, Holy Smoking Pipe Padre saying, light up your world, fire up your Mac. See you, folks. And next video, I'm going to be talking about, going to seminary. Would I recommend somebody going to seminary? We have a couple of young guys, new presenters, and believe it or not, they're actually going to be going to seminary in a month or so. So I told them they asked me how I would recommend seminary to a young man today, and I said, yeah, I think I can do a video on that. So that will be the next video on my summer ramblings, part B. Okay. And I haven't been drinking. No. Okay. Talk to you later. Bye.